He holds the record as the tallest man ever at a verified 8 feet 11.1 inches tall, according to the Guinness World Records book. When he traveled from his hometown of Alton, Illinois, he attracted crowds of people.
He was embraced by his community in ways that could teach us all a thing or two about compassion and friendship. Out in the real world, he fought to protect his own dignity. He was the gentle giant of Alton, Robert Wadlow.
Let's dig into this. Harold and Addie Wadlow lived in a 5-room house on Monroe Street in Alton, Illinois. The sleepy little town was roughly 25 miles from St. Louis, Missouri. On February 22nd, 1819, their first child was born at home. They named him Robert, and he weighed 8 pounds, 7 ounces at birth, considered a normal weight for a baby boy. Harold and Addie would have 2 more sons, Eugene and Harold Jr., and 2 daughters, Betty and Helen. All the children were healthy and happy and normal, except Robert. Robert grew at an alarming rate.
At the age of 5, Robert was 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 105 pounds. By the time he was 8, he was taller than his 5 foot 11 inch tall father and wore size 17 shoes. He was too tall for his school desk, so one was custom adapted for him. By his 9th birthday, he was 6'2", weighed 180 pounds, and could carry his father up a flight of stairs. His family adored him, and they never treated him differently, except to adapt to his needs and advocate for him when necessary.
They adapted to the tremendous cost of feeding and clothing Robert as best as they could. By the time he was 10, Robert needed size 21 shoes, which cost about $30, $450 today. They also never sought publicity when he was younger. Maybe they knew he would not be able to avoid the spotlight forever.
When Robert was 12, his family took him for a checkup at Barnes Hospital in St. Louis. After a series of tests, they learned Robert had an overactive pituitary gland, causing much higher than normal levels of human growth hormone in his body. They were also told there was no cure or treatment.
Despite the diagnosis, Robert's life continued to be very normal. He played basketball and would stand near the net so his teammates could pass him the ball. He was known as the Dunker. He was a Boy Scout. Reportedly, his custom uniform took over 12 yards of 36-inch wide fabric, and on campouts, he needed 2 cots. He was a member of the YMCA and joined other clubs as a young man. He attended the local Methodist church and did volunteer work.
Once, a bus driver tried to charge adult fare for Robert. His father objected and explained Robert's story, and the cab driver happily accepted the proper fare. When Robert was old enough to learn to drive, his always supportive father removed the front seat from the car so he could drive from the back seat.
The Alton Telegraph newspaper did a story on Robert when he was 8 years old. This may have been the first time he was put in the spotlight. The story highlighted his height and shoe size. Then, at 12 years old, he was filmed for an interview. It showed him with his classmates. Of course, Robert was easy to pick out of a crowd. At that time, he said he wanted to be an aviator when he grew up, a pilot like Charles Lindbergh. Lindbergh, who was a worldwide star after his record-breaking first non-stop flight from New York to Paris. Robert may not have known it, but he was becoming famous too.
He was interviewed for his story in the St. Louis Star-Times just before he turned 13. He was then 7 foot 4 inches tall and attracted crowds wherever he went. He seemed to take it all in stride. He was always polite and kind to those he met. Around this time, he was featured in a newspaper ad for a popular cap for boys. He made personal appearances at department stores and handed out publicity photos to kids.
After graduating from Alton High School in 1936, Robert decided to enroll in Shirtlift College to study law, but left after 1 year. By 1937, he was 19 years old, and he was becoming a celebrity. And the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, always looking for new acts, wanted Robert Wadlow to appear in the national tour. His parents were hesitant. They had always protected their son from being treated as a curiosity, or worse.
But the Great Depression was hitting everyone in the United States hard, and times were tough. Robert was looking at an offer that could help him help his family financially. So in the end, he decided to join the circus, but on his own terms. He refused to be part of the sideshow and only appeared in the main circus ring. He also refused to wear a top hat to make him look even taller.
After his circus tour, Robert worked for the International Shoe Company. They provided him with free shoes, size 37. His father traveled with him on nationwide tours, and wherever they went, cheering crowds would appear. Robert would pose for photographs and sign autographs, and people loved him.
And then in 1939, he went to court in St. Joseph, Missouri. He sued Dr. Charles Humbird, who had traveled to see Robert back in 1936 at the Wadlow home. Robert's father would not allow the doctor to examine Robert and ordered him to leave after a short interview. Dr. Humbird soon published an article in the Journal of the American Medical Association.
In the article, he called Robert a freak and said he was unfriendly, among other rather unpleasant things. Makes you wonder if the good doctor was a little upset at the Wadlows. Robert filed a lawsuit for $100,000 in damages, claiming libel against Dr. Humbird and the AMA and the Time magazine for also printing the doctor's comments. Robert Wadlow lost the case. The amazing thing is, if the article was written today, it would have never been published.
Robert continued working despite having problems with his feet for years. He needed leg braces and a cane to support his almost 9-foot tall, 439-pound body when he walked. He had little or no feeling in his feet and wouldn't know if he had chafing until blisters formed.
While on a trip to Manistee, Michigan, Robert developed a blister on his ankle walking in a parade. On July 6, 1940, he was hospitalized when the blister became infected. An autoimmune disorder complicated his treatment. He was given a blood transfusion, and they did surgery. But Robert died in his sleep on July 15th. He was only 22 years old.
Over 41,000 people from across the United States signed the Streeper Funeral Home guest book in Alton, Illinois, during the visitation that lasted 3 days and nights. Robert was buried in Oakwood Cemetery. His casket, weighing over 1,000 pounds, was carried by 12 pallbearers and 8 assistants. His parents protected Robert even after death, having his casket encased in concrete to prevent his body from being stolen for research or exhibition.
Robert Wadlow still holds the Guinness World Record as the tallest man, and due to advances in medicine, it may have been thought he could always hold the record. But recently, a possible contender has made the news. 29-year-old Sulemana Samed from Ghana reportedly stands 9 foot 6 inches tall, but his height has not been verified at the time of this video.
Robert Wadlow's hometown of Alton, Illinois, unveiled his life-size bronze statue in 1985. It stands near the Alton Museum of History and Art, where you can see exhibits, including his size 37 shoes. A tribute to this gentle giant.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next one.